Good afternoon. We welcome you to the commission meeting today, and I'd like to ask Pastor Kevin Decker of the Post Street Methodist to open our meeting with prayer.
Would you join me in prayer? Most gracious Heavenly Father, thank you for this day that you've made. We thank you for the city of Amarillo and the many opportunities that are available here to serve you. We give you thanks for the men and women that you have raised up to lead this city. We pray for your divine wisdom and insight to fill each one as they seek to do your will. We thank you that we live in an area with many compassionate people in the spirit of goodwill that so many share with those who are less fortunate. We especially lift up all those who have been affected by the recent fires and for your mercy and grace to be extended to all concerned. We pray for the love of Christ to motivate us to make this a place where people can thrive and grow and become all that you have designed them to be. I ask a special blessing today over all who are participating in this meeting, up all together in this place, to keep our eyes fixed on you in this day. We ask all these things in the name of the one who gives life, Jesus, your Son, and our Lord. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Rick. I'd like to ask our most tenured commissioner to lead us in the pledge. Is
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good afternoon and welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Amarillo City Commission, held on the third floor of City Hall each Tuesday, this time in the evening. And before we begin our regular agenda items, I would like to make a comment and invite my fellow commissioners to make a comment about what happened in our city this week. I will tell you that as a person that was required to go down to the DOC 3 times this week, I was very proud to see the operation. As a citizen there witnessing, I will tell you that you would be very proud of what they did. All the city responded. It was unbelievable how it came together quickly and seamlessly. And there were some unsung heroes that I'd like to mention. Obviously the police and fire. But there were other people within the city that risked their lives doing their job. Grader operators, maintainer operators that were out there. One in particular had the grader break down. And I know I heard the calls when he had to abandon his grader and crawl in the pond, wait for the fire to go over the top. So there were many things that happened to individuals who risked for our citizens. I went out today, not to be one of the gawkers yesterday, very aware of it as we watched it and watched what happened, but to watch today and go out and see how close it came to destroying hundreds of homes, if not for the work of our city, the county, other volunteers that came to our aid, and the state agencies that came to our aid. They did a fantastic job, and I think they should be complimented and lauded for everything that they did, and risking all in order to save our city. So we want to thank them. I'm going to ask our most senior commissioner again to begin the comments that you have.
Well, Mayor, of course, it never ceases to amaze me the effort and work and attitude to get out city employees, most especially in times like this when everyone's life was in danger. There's lots of property lost, and that's always a shame. Thank the Lord that no life was lost. But it's tragedies like this that remind us how lucky we are here in Amarillo, Texas. Good job by those who the effort.
It was my privilege to be at the first fire we had last week, and I was very, very impressed with the operations and very glad to see many friends in that same room who took time out of their day to be there to protect the citizens of Amarillo. And there was so many people in there that it's hard to remember who all was in there, but it's great to have a city that cooperates with private industry, with the medical community and all, to make sure that if something happens, we are prepared to deal with it. It makes me very proud to be a city commissioner and be a part of that. Thanks to all our workers and people who work during these fires and these tragedies.
If Commissioner Sims is the senior
Possibly.
Yes, that's
Barely.
You need to check your
Barely.
ID.
I've checked.
Anyway, what has been amazing to me in this process is that during a time of a disaster like that, the way the counties come together with the city, all together in the EOC, and it's not you do that, you do this, it's we're in this together. And it is seamless. I also think that the counties are to be congratulated on their ability to respond and to be prepared and to work with us in such a coordinated fashion. It's really a credit to both commission boards.
As an Amarillo College employee, I've been through emergency management training, never had an emergency that I had to deal with. So to go down there and see it working the way it should work, it was just amazing. This man's totally in charge. And everybody is just working like a well-oiled machine. After I left there, I went by Grace Community Church because I had some friends that were in there. And or I was going to offer them a bed. And it was amazing to me how many fellow Amarilloans had offered those people beds. A lot of people didn't spend the night in the church. They were at friends' houses because their friends had gone down and said, you need some help. So it's just a, it's a real feel-good, certainly not for the people who lost so much, but it was a feel-good moment there.
But I will tell you, I saw Jared Atkinson, our city manager, and I'm going to ask him to comment too, but first I'll tell you that I saw his style of management, and really with the training that had been given to his people, they jumped in and he augmented it slightly. He was very proud, and I'm sure he would not say of himself, but he was very proud of the people and how they responded and what they did instantaneously, stepping it up at each level when they had to move forward. There was a plethora of city people down there all functioning very, very powerfully. So Jared, if you close our comments on this, I'd like to hear yours.
Thank you, Mayor. Sure, certainly appreciate the opportunity to do so. I think as many of you have alluded to, one of the things that really makes a difference for those of us up here is that all of us up here work together. I've seen other places, I've talked to other folks, and they can't always count on that. So the city, all of the city staff, all of the city leaders, certainly police, fire, public works, that, reaches beyond that. Your environmental health, your animal control department, your building safety department doing damage assessments, your mechanics in the field, the tire truck guys. I mean, the level of response, parts and recreation, the water trucks, extra heavy equipment, all of that's phenomenal. All of that's a huge benefit. Of course, as Commissioner Reed said, the counties being able to reach out and to tap them and to have all of us work together as one as we go forward. I think in this event, we absolutely cannot forget certainly TxDOT, who's also a partner with us. But in this case, not only the Texas Forest Service, but the United States Forest Service, the federal assets that were in this fire. Had we not had that full level of response, literally from animal control and dog catchers up to the 4-inch bear bombers, we very easily could have lost a significant portion of Northwest Amarillo. I think I've given an updated damage assessment that we may have 7 homes that were destroyed. That's an absolute tragedy. Now that the smoke is cleared, so to speak, you're in the West Cliff area, you look at Brookfield, and you see the one home that was unfortunately destroyed, you realize those on either side of it were totally safe. I think that was a big turning point in that fire. But in the end, Mayor and Commission, we on the staff want to thank you. We have access to the finest equipment. We have access to the finest facility. And because of our cooperation with our partners around us, we've got the finest people to put together and work on one of these. I'm really tired of practicing. I'm not sure that we're too proud of being good at this. We'd like to not have to do it again for a while. But if somebody could make rain, that's the one thing that would help us. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to business. Our first item for business today is the approval of the minutes from last week's meeting from May 24th. Do I hear a motion for approval?
Mayor, I would move approval of minutes as presented.
And second?
I second the motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is passed with a 5-0 vote. The next item of business is ordinance 7279. This is the first reading of an ordinance changing the zoning of Lot 12, Block 5, La Paloma Estates, Unit Number 3, and an unplatted tract of land, Section 12, Block 9, BS&F Survey, Potter County, in the vicinity of Pine Valley Lane and Marion Place. From Land Development 262A to Agricultural District to Residential District 3. It's recommended for approval by a 4-0 vote of the Planning and Zoning Commission. Do we have any comments from any of the commissioners on this?
This used to be the driving range.
Kelly, would you like to go through and explain it a little more?
I'd be happy to, Mayor. This is the La Paloma subdivision, close to where the fires were over the weekend. Due to the two golf clubs, one being north and one being south of Fairway Drive, due to their combination into one entity, they decided to not keep both driving range, and they wanted to redevelop, have the opportunity to redevelop the driving range on the north. That's what the request is for, is to zone this property appropriately for smaller lot residential development. Currently, it's zoned agriculture, which requires a minimum acre for residential development. Many of their homes are going to be smaller than that. Some aren't, but some will be smaller. So that's the reason for the residential 3 zoning request. Residential 3 is our smallest site-built type house zoning district, requiring a minimum of 50 feet block width and 100 feet block depth, and a minimum of 5,000 square foot of area. We did send out property owner notices, and we did have a call with one property owner concerned about access to the golf course. He will retain access to the golf course, and so this is just another opportunity for additional development, additional property to be added to the tax roll for the city.
Are there any comments from the audience on this action? Any comments from the commissioners? Okay, then I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we approve ordinance number 7279.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? So ordinance 7279 passes 5-0. Okay. Next item is ordinance number 7280. It's the first reading of an ordinance changing the zoning of Lot 30, Block 112, South Lawn Addition, Unit Number 30, in Section 184, Block 2, ABNM Survey, Randall County, in the vicinity of Milam and Douglas Drive, from Residential District 2 to Residential District 2 with a specific use permit for placement of a carport. This is recommended for approval by a 4-0 vote of the Planning and Zoning Commission. Are there any comments from the audience about this? Any comments from the commission? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move we approve ordinance number 7280.
Second.
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? This motion is passed by a 5-0 vote. Okay, that moves us on to the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I need to request that the consent agenda item E be removed and considered as a separate item here, because I work at Amarillo College, and
Okay.
I need to recuse myself from item E, but I would like to vote on the rest of the consent agenda.
Certainly will remove that. It's recommended the following items be approved by the city manager and authorized to execute all documents necessary for each transaction. So I'll go through them and then we'll remove item B. Okay. So item A is award workers' compensation excess coverage. Item B, we're going to remove that with the approval of the Economic Development Corporation, ABC, Amarillo College Industrial Machining Program Grant. C is the approval of the Amarillo Economic Development Corporation's affiliated foods and beverage job creation incentive grant. D is approval of the tax increment reinvestment zone 1 project, public right-of-way, streetscape improvement, Hope Street Methodist Church. Let's go back and guess the order then would be removed. Next page, excuse me. Approval of emergency purchases. You want those emergency purchases? Please. Okay. Approval of emergency purchase of well pumps and motors. Next one is F, approval of Potter County Wellfield change number 1, water transmission pipeline contract. Okay, so do we properly remove item D now and then consider the rest of it? Okay. So let's go ahead and remove item D and we'll consider that separately.
Clarification of the audience. The last motion is because
We will, we're going to go through each of these. I think we will. So award of compensation excess coverage. Is there anything that we need to present about that?
Here, are there any questions that myself or staff speak to on that item?
Looked like we saved a lot of money with this choice. I don't have any questions. Anybody else? Anybody from the audience have a question about that? Okay, we'll move on to C, approval of Amarillo Economic Development Corporation affiliated with Food Job Creation Center. I would like to hear a presentation on that. Let's do it.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. Congratulations and welcome. My first chance to get to see you all there. This project is a project that was considered and approved by the Amarillo UC Board of Directors at its May 10th, 2011 meeting. As you know, Affiliated Foods is one of our largest employers in the community, employing about 1,300 people. They actually distribute food to their stores from Arizona to Arkansas from the facility here in Amarillo. This project is to provide some assistance in creating some new jobs, 84 in particular, to improve the servicing capability of the plant here for the expansion. They've recently acquired some additional food stores in South Texas, and they are going to do some improvements to the facilities here, so they have a better capability to provide services to all their member stores throughout the whole Southwest almost. The request is for $840,000 grant, generation incentive grant for the affiliated foods. Happy to answer any questions. And we're pleased to see this happen because it's another 84. It's not 850 or 900, but it's 84 new primary jobs. Those primary jobs create revenue streams to all local governments. They create sales tax revenues. They create all kinds of value to this community on a daily basis. That's the focus of our efforts.
Looks like a great project. Are there any questions from the audience about this particular item? Okay. Don't go away because we're going to get you back up later. All right, I'll be right here. Get to the removed item. Okay. Next item is approval of the tax increment zone tiers project. Any questions from the audience about this project? Any questions from the commission? Okay. And then the approval of the emergency purchase well pumps and motors. Comments? Questions from the commission? Approval of the Potter County Wellfield change number 1 order.
kind of goes with the we got work session regarding the water use. See, 10 years. I was asking for a report from the city manager that he did this at the work session regarding the city's water usage here in the last few weeks of present. Wind, heat, tides.
Yes, sir. We are on track now to close the month of May with record water use totaling a little over 400 million gallons greater than what we would typically use in the month of May. So that's almost half a billion gallons. Just to frame of reference, we're going to use 16 to 17 billion over the course of the year. We have hit a peak day of 80 million gallons, 80 million gallons pushed through the system in one day. And for the month of May, we'll get average at 70 million gallons a day. The peaks are not necessarily what concerns us. Concerns is how early those peaks have hit. We're probably 6 weeks ahead of when we should have been seeing those peaks. And the fact that the peak is now become a flat mountain top instead of going up and down, the usage is staying high. So kind of weaving that back in with our initial comments, we certainly need some rain. Our Lake Meredith supply, we get this year, turns on tomorrow. So that will be coming to town at about 106 million a day. We have to supply, of course, the emergency purchase items where we're having well pumps and others. We had 6 wells fail in our first well field, which is unprecedented for that many of them to go out at once. And that is Amarillo's single largest point-in-time supply of water, so we sure need to get back there. I'll be pleased to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions, anyone in the audience about this? It's a good point of public information. What we've been hearing from the work session. Anybody on the commission, any more questions about that? Not an entertaining motion that we consider all the items on the consent agenda with the exception of item B.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda with the removal of item B on this resolution.
All those in favor? Any opposed? 401 abstention vote.
I have a consent, I have a consent on that.
Excuse me. I'm sorry, I mean that myself. Okay, so we have it 5. Now we'll go back to,
Where I do approval,
now we need an explanation that I'd like to hear, David.
Thank you, Mayor. The other project on the agenda, which item B, is a grant to Amarillo College to enhance the machining program. For a number of years, the machining program was really not in operation. In recent years, it's been re-implemented, and this grant will assist the college in expanding and upgrading its offerings to provide some better machining skills training for not only local industry, which is extremely important, probably most important, but also to help us with the attraction of new business and industry in the community. The dollars here, $184,100, will be used to acquire some equipment, software upgrade, some other things, so that we are seeing the provision of a state-of-the-art machining program here at Amarillo College. This is one of a number of different programs that the Amarillo Economic Development Corporation has assisted Amarillo College with funding for. In each and every case has been done to help develop our workforce, expand capabilities, help us with the attraction and the retention and expansion of business and industry. And I will tell you, Amarillo College is a spectacular partner in everything we do in our attraction and our expansion efforts, and we really love it.
Any questions from the audience for Mr. David? Any from the commission?
You know, I think this is one of the most wonderful things that the AEDC does. I mean, it's one thing to bring a job and to bolster economic activity, but to help teach somebody a trade that will last them their lifetime. I think it's such an admirable project. I love it when you bring education to the college. The project should do. Giddy up.
Thank you. One of the things we can do best in the community is to help people upgrade their skills and get a better job and a better quality of life. This is what this is all about.
Are we glad?
I would like to, as a former regent at Amarillo College, commend the college for being able to move so quickly in response to the industry and to be able to retool itself, as it will, to do what the industry in our community demands. And so to have a great partner like AEDC is really a testament to how quickly and how close we are here in the city to make things happen. And I thank you for being a partner of Amarillo College.
Thank you. I think it's very important also to inspire these young people to do a great job to get done with this. And staying in Amarillo, more than likely, giving them opportunities in the past to stay here and enhance our community. So everybody doesn't have to have a college degree to start. I think that as people progress, they can get these jobs, and some of them may be business owners, and approaching you for grants for that in future years.
Hopefully they'll come and win the Enterprise Challenge in the future year.
They could. They well could.
Sir, and any time that we can continue to grow our skills base, we're helping grow our own workforce that way. We don't have to worry about seeking it from other places. We've got lots of people that can be trained and take a better job. That whether you getting a certificate program, an associate's degree, or going on for a 4-year degree, we're trying to get people prepared for a career and a good quality job that they can raise a family and be proud to be a citizen of the city of Amarillo.
Is it appropriate for you to mention some of the companies that submit letters to this?
Certainly, Sarco, Amarillo Gear, Bell Helicopter, Pantex, and just a few of the ones that support this because we know how important it is for them to be able to do what they do in their everyday jobs. It'll also help us as we try to recruit more and more companies in the wind industry and any other companies that are in any type of manufacturing sector. We still make a lot of good stuff in Amarillo that a lot of communities wish that they could do, but we've got to have this type of training and these type of skills development to be able to be successful in that. The best news of all is this type of funding goes to help get a program either started or restarted, and then Amarillo College takes it from there, and they're not back asking for funding again and again and again for the same program, which really makes a difference, and it helps us spread the knowledge even farther.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Are there any comments or questions from the audience about this project? Yes. Come on forward. Come on up to the, and if you would give your name and address since we don't have.
Steve Dawson, 7902 Prosper. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for allowing me to ask this question. It came up just a second ago during this wording. This says the grant funds will be used to upgrade machining. My question is, do we have like a, if we're replacing old machinery, do we have any kind of like back purchase program that Amarillo College may have that can maybe recoup a little bit of used equipment funds back from that equipment to go back towards this as well?
I don't have a direct answer. I know they're very good at their fiscal responsibility to take care of that. I don't know if anybody here is equipped to answer that, but we can look into it if you like.
Okay, yeah. I just thought maybe it was a way to recoup some of that funds. Thank you.
I can't offer a specific answer to that, but I can tell you, if you've been out to the East Campus to see where they do the machining programs, they've got wonderful equipment. And, you know, they make it last as long as anybody ever makes it last. And part of what this funding is going to go for is to help make sure that we do have the best possible equipment to train people on so that the skills they walk away with are applicable in today's market, not 5 or 10 or 20 years ago. And I don't know that Amarillo College is really good at making sure they stretch their dollars. So I think that they will do their best to make sure that these dollars are used wisely, and that whatever they can do to sell off any used equipment that maybe isn't state of the art, they'll certainly do that, make that effort.
I understand it from the former regent. She has a comment about that.
Well, all educational institutions governed by the state of Texas have certain ways that they can dispose of property, so they can't just willy-nilly take care of it. So they have the protocols in place to make sure that everyone does the right thing and the state doesn't clamp down on it.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Great discussion. Okay. Any other comments about this from the commission? I know we have one commissioner over here that can't comment and just bite their tongue not to comment. So just suffer through it, Commissioner.
Mayor, I'll still move for approval by appeal.
Thank you, our senior commissioner.
And I second the motion.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? So we have a 4-0-1 abstention vote. I didn't write this. Okay. Basically, now we have a presentation for downtown redevelopment and update. This will be presented by David Wallace of Wallace Metropolitan Development Partners. David, thank you for being here.
Great, thank you, Mr. Mayor, City Commissioner, City Manager. Thank you for the opportunity to be here today. And to the newly elected officials, let me congratulate you for your victory. Thank you. I also wanted to start out by saying that every time before we stood in front of this dais, we continue to talk about the numerous times that we would like to be before the public and offer additional updates and status as to where we are, so that as we continue to move forward, we can continue to get feedback and input from the City Commission. So obviously that's what we're doing here today as well. As it relates to a general overview, the overall strategy that we're moving forward on is consistent with the Downtown 2008 Strategic Action Plan. And this is a plan that obviously has been around since 2008, but it also goes back a good 20 years with the creation of Center City, the creation, the discussion of prior commissions, prior mayors, prior people sitting on that side of the dais, and we're continuing to move forward with that. As we continue to move forward, I know all of you fully understand that a viable downtown is important to the overall health of the community. So goes the downtown, so goes the community. And as we have continued to have conversations with all of you and the public, we're continuing to get that feedback from the general public as well. The goals that were consistent with the 2008 Strategic Action Plan were to basically attract family-oriented venues, events, and programs into the downtown area, support the Civic Center area with the Convention Center Hotel, multi-purpose event venue, shared public parking, and attract the development of urban lifestyle living in the downtown and adjacent area. Basically, as we work on these catalyst projects, in effect, to have that become a stimulant for other type of activity and development in the downtown area. And as we continue to talk with many, many people in our community, we came up with this phrase, and it's simply put, my town, my downtown. The current events, Wallace Vajali, over the last, since the last time we stood before you, there's a number of activities that we've moved forward. As you know, we've stood before you as it relates to the architect, engineer, and the overall project team to gain concurrence in connection with that, as well as the operator for the multi-purpose event venue. We've also provided a pursuit cost budget to the city. We've recommended certain legislative efforts as we've continued to move forward relative to, as you can see, House Bill 970. We've engaged an investment banking firm to assist us in the funding strategies as we move forward and analyze the overall capital structure for this particular project. We've also come up with a number of funding tools, and we've had conversations, as you know, in connection with those recommendations, some of those strategies. We've also engaged an appraiser to come up with a current value of the Herring Hotel. As you know, we've continued to look at this as it relates to not just a brand new startup hotel, but also the overall viability of using the Herring Hotel. And as we move forward with that, the Herring Hotel, of course, is in private hands, and we want to make sure that we understand the true value in connection with that. We also attended the chamber-sponsored trade show, which I know many of you did as well, on May 12th. We've had a number of public meetings, and I'll go through a number of those again with the view of not just articulating what the goals and objectives are, but more importantly, hearing from the public as to what the goals and objectives of this community, so that it's not a mayor's project or a city commission's project. It truly is a community's project. We made a number of other presentations to other community groups, business groups, civic groups, in addition to these public meetings. We have internally selected a hotel operator. We are going to be meeting with the local government corporation tomorrow, and we'll be making a presentation to them. Once we receive concurrence from the local government corporation, we will be back before you, we believe this time next week, to get your concurrence as it relates to the hotel operator as well. We've worked with DAI and the city as it relates to the Civic Center facility assessment efforts to make sure that everyone is working in concert with one another as it relates to the overall redevelopment in this entire area. We've opened a dialogue with the Panhandle Aquatics Center as well as USA Swimming in response to a great deal of feedback that we've gotten from the public during these public meetings as it relates to a natatorium, and then also continue the efforts to refine the planning and just the overall development process. And then, of course, the May 14th election results, I think, spoke for themselves as it relates to an impetus as it relates to the citizens in downtown redevelopment. The trade show and the public meetings, we had over 1,000 people visit the DAI booth, and as they visited the DAI booth, obviously they asked questions, but we also continue to reach out as it relates to surveys, getting opinions from the citizens as to what they want, what they don't want in this community. We also held a number of neighborhood meetings informing the citizens of the overall efforts that we're doing. Those citizen meetings were held in April as well as early May. There were a number of questions that were asked. Obviously, we answered those. And then, as I mentioned before, this is a wonderful way for the community to provide really meaningful input as it relates to the goals and objectives they're looking for. We also met with over 500 people in a number of different meetings. This was over a 30-day period of time, whether it was standing before the City Commission, standing with the board of AEDC, the local government corporation, Center City Board, the TERS Board, the Chamber Board, a group of young professionals, business clubs, and a number of other meetings. Literally on every single day, it was a good 15 to 20 meetings a day as we were spending time here, again, with the view of how can we gain input from what the community is looking for. In these public meetings that were well publicized, we had over 225 folks that came to those meetings. You can see the dates, what the attendance was, the number of questions, and then, as I mentioned, at every single one of these, we continue to ask for questions, comment cards from the individuals as we move forward. At those public meetings, some of the topics that were discussed, again, this is just a broad range of some of the questions that came up, comments, thoughts as it relates to the citizens. We've received a great deal of constructive comments as it relates to what's the viability of creating some type of a natatorium in connection with the downtown area. We also had a number of comments relative to Civic Center expansion. As you can see, I'm just going to let you take time to read it. But these are all questions that were asked. All of these questions were put on the DAI website as well, and we're continuing to provide answers to all of these particular questions. Those questions continue to come up as well. And I think, as all of you know, sitting on that side of the dais, to the extent as a public servant, you're here to provide the highest quality service at the lowest possible price. I know it sounds like a commercial statement, but the lowest possible price is translated into the tax rate. And everything that we're focusing on as we continue to move forward is how can we continue to drive income into the city so that you, as elected officials, can reduce the ad valorem taxes. And that's a continuous goal that we have, and a question that continues to come up. And again, you can see the other questions that came forward. Some of the outcomes, let me make sure. Some of the outcomes of the public meetings, as I mentioned, aquatics was a critical component that came up, I think, at every single one of the meetings, the public meetings that we had, as well as some of the other, I don't even want to call them private meetings, but they were clubs, philanthropic organizations, business organizations. The aquatics seems to be a hot button as it relates to having that type of an asset for the community. The time that we had these discussions, obviously, shortly after Kids Inc. Pulled out of the discussion of the Downtown Recreation Center, and so that was something that we heard a number of comments in connection with that. And then making sure that as we are moving forward, that we integrate the overall Civic Center needs assessment study that is presently underway as it relates to the overall downtown master plan in connection with this development. The team, as you know, we've stood before you already to get your concurrence, but this is a broad-ranging group of individuals, of major corporations throughout the United States, many of which are based right here in Amarillo. HKS Architect is the lead architect in connection with this, working in conjunction with Lab & Associates right here in Amarillo. Architectus is a preservation-based architecture firm, and as you know, as we continue to focus on a potential redevelopment of the Herring Hotel, there's a number of preservation issues that we're going to need to continue to talk about. So we wanted to make sure that we had a good team associated with that. Fu Morton does land planning and placemaking, which is exactly what we're looking to do to drive foot traffic into the downtown area. Kimley Horn and Associate, as you can see, they provide comprehensive land development services. And then Western Builders, based here in Amarillo, focusing on the estimating aspect as we continue to move forward. These are just a handful of some of the projects that the design team, some of the members of the design team have been involved with as it relates to new build, as it relates to historic renovation. The Frisco Rough Rider Field, you have Whataburger Field down in Corpus Christi, you have Dell Diamond in Round Rock. Those are all facilities that they've created. This is Victory Square, which is adjacent to the American Airlines Center in Dallas, which is a really unique approach of using a mixed-use development, office, retail, set around the plaza for a community gathering place. And then obviously this is a rather large football stadium that the Dallas Cowboys play in. But that's the team that we've assembled as it relates to the architectural design engineering aspect of it. From a financial standpoint, some of the other components that we have, Estrada Hinojosa is a firm that we've engaged as an investment banking firm to represent Wallace Bajali as we're going through the overall capital structure. This is a firm that has a deep bench as it relates to public-private partnership in addition to traditional type of capital structure. They've been involved in new market tax credits, historic tax credits, and a whole host of other type of federal, state, and local capital structuring. We've also, we haven't engaged the firm, but we're continuing to look at engaging Civitas Capital Management out of Dallas. They focus on a economic development funding tool called EB5. We've also engaged Focus Advocacy for legislative issues. As you're well aware, there's a number of people that, and I want to commend the leadership here within the city of Amarillo as it relates to the most recent House bill that was approved to assist in providing funding mechanisms and tools to be able to move forward on some of these projects. The market assessment, CSL, Convention, Sports, and Leisure, has already been engaged relative to the multi-purpose venue, and RCL Code, Robert C. Lesser Company. They're an organization that basically will come into a community. They spend a week here looking at what assets are already in the community, what retail assets, commercial, residential, what are the needs of this community, working with all the different market studies, and then they basically come back and say, here are the top 10 retailers that we believe would help do that placemaking in the downtown area. These are the type of office components that we think should be constructed in the downtown area. From that, we've taken information already that they've gleaned, that they've provided. Joe Esch, who's here today, my partner Costa Bajali, and myself spent 3 days at the ICSC convention, which is the International Council of Shopping Centers. And once we have that list of these are the target retailers that the community is looking for, then we've had conversations with a number of those retailers as this is why you should come to Amarillo, for you to set up shop, for you to set up your retail establishment. And that will be a process that we will continue. And once we have all of that information in a formal approach from RCLCO, as we continue to have discussion with the public, we'll continue to reach out to the public here in Amarillo to make sure that we continue to refine that approach. And then legal, Andrews & Kurth is the law firm that we've engaged as well. From an operator of the multipurpose venue, Southern Independent Baseball, which is the present owner of the Amarillo Sox. As you can see down at the bottom, they also own the Grand Prairie Air Hogs and the Shreveport Captains in Grand Prairie and Shreveport, respectively. It's an organization that, as you know, is new to Amarillo. And as we continue to have conversations with them and the league that they're affiliated with, the American Association, we've continued to talk about this is not just about baseball. As you know, baseball would make up about 60 different home games in any particular year. What we're trying to drive is the foot traffic into the downtown area, the type of activities, whether it's concerts, other type of philanthropic events, other events to be able to attract a number of people to come into the downtown area. So as we've had conversations with the Southern Independent Baseball folks, we've continued to talk about how can they expand their overall organization to bring in additional operations, additional events to take place at this venue. From a public sector perspective, obviously there's a number of public sector partners, and every single one of these partners, every single one of these organizations are folks that we consider partners because each one plays an integral part in connection with the overall downtown. The final piece that we have is our hotel operator. We are going to be making a recommendation tomorrow, as I mentioned, to the local government corporation, and we anticipate being back before you as well. This is, it's difficult to see this particular slide, but what we're pointing out here is that there are so many different points of input that we are going to continue to evaluate, continue to reach out and bring to the City Commission as we go through this process. As you know, our process that we're going through right now is making sure that we have the team, making sure that we have all of those pieces nailed down. Over the next 60 days between now and July, We will be making a recommendation as it relates to what's the financial viability of this, how much is it going to cost, what is the land plan going to look like, what are the renderings going to look like, what input have we received from the public as to what the public wants, or more importantly, what the public does not want. And then we'll be back before the City Commission to make recommendations about how we anticipate funding this overall project. The facility programming, the cost estimating is presently underway. We've started that process, and once we get the concurrence from you for the hotel operator, obviously all of that will really start in greater earnest. We're continuing to work from a placemaking perspective, and a lot of that has to do with the placement of particular assets, the walkability, people walking from one event to the next from a retailing to be able to have those type of activities. The financial plan development, as I've mentioned before, and then working with the city on the Civic Center Needs Assessment Study. The next community meeting that we're going to have is going to be on June 25th, and this will be a design charrette. And we are hoping that we have hundreds of people that will come to that design charrette. And at that design charrette, of course, we're going to be asking people, what is it that you're looking for in these assets? We're looking for their input. We're looking for the placement of those particular assets so that we can move forward. And again, as I mentioned, it is not our project. It's not the City Commission's project. It has to be the community's project, and that's what our goal is in connection with that. We continue to move the ball further down the road on this process. Again, this is a slide that I think you've seen before, and when you first saw this, we were at the very first box, and we've continued to move forward, and with the goal of being here before you by the end of July or the beginning of August with our recommendations and moving forward. We would hope that everyone does stay informed. There's a lot of social networking programs that are out there, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Twitter, YouTube, all the information, every single public meeting that we've had, I believe it's every single public meeting, we're striving to do that, is on the Downtown Amarillo Inc. Website. Many of the documents, many of the plans and things of that nature. So with that, I'd love to open it up for questions, and to the extent that there are specific questions about some of the public meetings that perhaps Joe or Melissa Daly were at, I'm sure they could provide comments as well.
I think they could. They were at a lot of public meetings.
Yes, they were.
Any questions from the audience or from the commission about the presentation? Yes, Commissioner Sims.
Mr. Wallace, all of this that you've been through, all these meetings and all these contacts and all these setups, and how much has that cost the city of Amarillo?
Absolutely nothing.
Pardon me?
Absolutely nothing. We have continued to fund this, and if this project does not go forward, we will eat the expenditures, and it will not cost the city anything.
It has to be successful.
Yes.
So with that answer, you want us to say what's on the screen? Thank you.
That was not a teleprompter, I'm sorry.
Okay. Anybody else have a question from the commission? Is there anybody in the, excuse me?
Well, I just want to take this opportunity to outline the specific time that the June 25th meeting is, just so we can get it on everybody's calendar at this point.
It's 9 to 11 a.m.
9 to 11.
Okay. So
I believe the 25th.
June 25th must be a Saturday.
It's a Saturday.
That's correct. Good. Any other comments? Anybody from the audience have any comments? Okay, well, thank you very much for your presentation. Thank you. Well, obviously, we're still in the planning stages there. All things are coming together. We'll see what is under the umbrella for downtown, but the umbrella looks pretty good to me, so we'll see what happens. At this point, I would like to say this concludes the regularly scheduled meeting for the Amarillo City Commission. It's customary at this time that we allow citizens of the community on matters pertaining to city policies, programs, and services to speak to the commission. And the floor is now open for those comments. I would ask you to please come up, and I'm going to make a couple of minor changes here with the indulgence of my commissioners. We did not put the comment cards out there today, I think mostly because they weren't out there from last week. But I would tell you that there are some things by state law that we can't get into a discussion about. when I see one of those approach, and I hope you'll indulge me, I'm going to give you my cell phone number as often as you need it. I would ask you to call me, and we will sit down in my office. You will decide whether the press will come or not me, and we'll discuss whatever it is you wish. I think that that would further discussions that sometimes get stymied by a timer or by a bell or by a restriction by state law. So we just want an open discussion. You could ask one other commissioner to come without being posted as a public meeting, and I would hope that we could do that very well and get any things on the table that we need to discuss. So with that, I hope you'll indulge me. We will set the timer, but there will be no buzzers at the end. Common courtesy would say that's about enough time. And if it goes beyond that, I would say we maybe need to talk, and I'd welcome those comments anytime that you would like. So with that, I'd ask for any public comments. Please come forward. Any public comments at all? Yes. And if you would, without the cards, if you'd give your name and address, although we know who you are. Thank you, sir.
Congratulations to all who were elected. And a great big thank you for all those who ran. Gosh, what a testament there is to our community. I am Robert Goodrich. I live at 6510 Sandy Drive. The comment that you just made, Mayor, about the meetings being more open and less tyrannized by form in order to get substance out, I think is commendable. It serves our community well to be as open as that, and I thank you very much for taking that approach. And I think you'll, in all probability, hear from a lot more citizens in more meaningful ways. So thank you very much, and I appreciate so much your service.
I would tell you that I did not make it for those reasons, because I do think the last commission was open, and I know we'd have some debate about that. I'm offering that debate, but we may have to have it in my office. So still, though, I appreciate the comment. Anybody else, any comments, please? We know who you are, but would you state your name?
Thank you, Mayor. My name is Kenneth Graham. I reside at 3007 Harmony Street, and Mayor and City Commissioners and City staff, thank you for continuing to hold these evening meetings once a month. It's good to see the turnout tonight. I wanted to talk about a back-to-school item that is on the top of my mind, even though school just let out last week, and it deals with the recently approved restrictions on wireless communication devices. I think most of you know I served on the Traffic Commission here and also served on the ad hoc Traffic Commission that dealt with implementation of that local ordinance to restrict wireless communication devices here in school zone areas. I'm also the president of a fairly new organization called Share the Road. We're governed by 15 board members, and we appreciate the fact that that organization has over 1,300 fans on Facebook, and I'm now a firm believer in the power of Facebook, and I think several of you back over there can attest to that as well with the success you had getting elected to the commission. I'm also a motorist. I know a lot of you know I ride a bicycle, but I'm primarily a motorist. I'm also a parent of a school-age child. I drive on a regular basis in school zone areas throughout Amarillo for different reasons, as a volunteer and also as a parent. So my request tonight is that as we go back into the back-to-school mode, and as we start educating the motorist on not just school zone speed limits, but also the restriction of wireless communication devices in school zones, that we take into account how we're going to publicize that. And I go back to Facebook. I think even though the city of Amarillo, is my understanding, does not use Facebook at all, or very limited, I think there's ways that we can work with the city and local media to help motorists be aware of what's going on out there. And I would suggest that it would be great for the city to release some numbers to the media about how many warning citations were issued during that initial back-to-school period, and then also how many tickets were issued after that warning phase is over with, so that people have a better understanding of what this ordinance is all about, and also that they understand that it is an ordinance that's going to be enforced to the best of our abilities at all levels. With Facebook, it's so easy to get that message out to hundreds and hundreds and thousands of people locally that, hey, you know, if you're going to use that wireless communication device in a school zone, you're going to get ticketed and it's going to cost you this amount of money. So why don't you just put it down to begin with? So that would be my request, that we not only start that enforcement as soon as possible, but also the marketing or the publication of it the way I described. Again, I want to thank the City Commission, the previous commission, for taking the steps necessary to get this local ordinance on the books and get it enforced. And thank you for continuing to make our roads safer for all users, whether they're motorists, pedestrians, bicycle riders, or runners, or motorcycle riders. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Graham.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, I'm John Ben Blanchard. I live at 3206 Hawthorne Drive. Just very briefly, with respect to the Wallace-Bajali presentation, in the last 30 years, I've had the pleasure of living here for 20 of it, but I've lived in a little bit smaller community that is a dying coastal city community, and then I lived in Austin. My comment is this. In business, I have observed that for any business to flourish, it's got to continue to bring in new customers and new people. As the workforce ages and retires, then you've got to attract new young people to come into the business. Similarly, in my observation, the communities that I have observed dying are those communities who have failed to take the action necessary to attract both new businesses, new business opportunities, and new people, particularly young people. And therefore, I'd like to commend the commission, this commission, as well as your predecessor, on the insight that it has and on the forward-looking approach of trying to revitalize the community. As the father of an adult child and two that are getting ready to start college, I can tell you that downtown plays a major role in attracting new young businessmen and businesswomen and young professionals to Amarillo. What's happened so far through the efforts of Center City and through DAI, I'll get it right, is attracting a really nice young group of young professionals, young business people back into Amarillo. And my comment is, congratulations on what you've done, but don't stop. Let's keep it going, because Amarillo and many parts of the city is aging. And if we're going to continue to keep Amarillo vital, I think it starts at the center of the city. And I think that my comment is simply, I would encourage you to continue on the path you're on now, and thank you for what you've done thus far.
Thank you, Mr. Blanchard. Anyone else? Yes, Mr. Dawson.
Steve Dawson, 7902 Prosper. Have a question, maybe a twofold question. How close are we, in your observation, to a water conservation mode citywide? And should we start looking maybe to ramp up the efforts of publicly notifying folks to? I know we're out there and we say we have commercials and things that are out there, but are we looking at moving a little closer now, seeing that our peak times, as Mr. Atkinson has said, is coming so sooner? Is there an effort that we should be putting forth maybe to ramp up the efforts to let the folks know that we are, one, are we at a critical point, and if we are, what kind of efforts can be put in place by the citizens to kind of take hold of this themselves? And no one wants the fear of the water thing, and so I'm not saying it to bring out the we're running out of water thing, but at the same point, are we close to that point, and if so, are we going to ramp up efforts to maybe?
I think the tone that I've heard in the meetings and earlier today in the work session is there's obviously a concern about conservation, But we also heard that the city is well in place to supply us the water that we need because of foresight from 5 and 6 and 7 years ago and completions that are coming online right now. Mr. Atkinson could delineate that a little bit, but I can tell you that no matter what that is as far as supply, I think the tone of our commission will be to conserve, and it was in the past, but obviously there's other ways to do that. I think it's intriguing that we think about what Mr. Graham said about social media to do this sorts of things too, because it's obviously becoming more predominant. But I think that it's an effort we'll have to make, and the steps that we take to do that are going to be the key to whether it works or not. But City Manager, Jared, would you comment on what's coming online to make sure we do have enough supply? Obviously, I don't think everybody knows about the water coming from Lake Meredith that will start.
Certainly, Mayor, thank you. Of course, with the actions today, you'll see 3 more well pumps. Next week, we'll get our Carson County well field back up to its full capacity. That's really probably where we've had the biggest shortfall over the last few weeks, as much as the demand of anything. The additional water that will be available not only in Amarillo, but to the other 10 Canadian River Municipal Water Authority cities throughout the summer starts tomorrow. For us, that's a little more than 6 million gallons a day that we'll add to our production. We'll get the 6 wells back up. Our Potter County well field should begin to come online. Ideally, we're shooting early in August. It may be a little bit later than that. But as we bring in these 2 other supplies, Carson County back up to full speed, and Grimwald water, our big 500 million gallon reservoir will begin, for the water levels to go back up in it. It still has a substantial amount of water in it. That was foresight on the city's behalf back in the late 90s that most other cities don't. Your conservation message is well taken. We have done the kickoff. In fact, at Business Connection, we've done the kickoff for our annual water conservation campaign. If anybody's bored hanging out in our elevator lobbies, it's coming up on all the TV screens throughout the building. I'm getting the message on social media. I'm one of the holdouts, so that's part of my deal. But I just would note, folks seem to respond best to figuring things out, doing things on their own because they should, rather than because we've made them. Part and parcel of that, one of the things that we do when we're in these times of extremely high demand, we look to ourselves. Throughout the summer, the city proper is about a 4 million gallon a day water user. So we'll begin to pull ourselves down. You'll see some of the parks brown up, around the edges, and some of the athletic fields may not get watered quite as often as we would like to. But we feel like we need to do that first. We own tens of thousands of sprinkler heads. I guarantee you one's broken right now. By the time I'm back in the office, I'll hear about it. Please do that. That helps us to know that. The same thing with your neighbors. We have a program that you can call here, call the utilities department. If you have a neighbor who has a broken sprinkler system, I know a lot of folks watered overnight and they don't realize they've lost a head. We get calls on retail businesses that are trying to make the asphalt grow and expand. Sometimes it's uncomfortable to go and address that yourself. Call us and we'll do it. And we'll do that in a friendly and encouraging manner, not a punitive manner, but it's really been interesting. Mr. Rodriguez is back in the audience nodding his head. He's often the bearer of that news. And I think in just all but rare occasions, it's very well received. So you make excellent points.
Thank you. And that's what I was wondering. So we have the availability of that new water structure as of tomorrow, correct? So that's basically what
that starts tomorrow.
Okay. That's where that was coming from. I wondering if we needed to go into conservation mode before then, or how close we were. So
our rate structure also encourages conservation.
And I expect after this month's bills, that rate structure will encourage even more conservation.
Well, I heard comments from Commissioner Eads about the concern about conservation. So I think we have 2 issues. We will have enough water, but we also want to be sure we use it properly. And so I would ask maybe Commissioner Eads, and I know Commissioner Green has also commented about that. We can look at this closer and we'll take your item for discussion at one of our meetings and talk about what further steps we should do. I heard of a city that was fining people $500 if they caught it running down the street. I don't think we need to go that far. I think I will stop giving out my cell phone number if we start doing that. But I would hope we can use some common sense to deal with this. And I appreciate you bringing it up. Hold our feet to the fire. Keep it on our minds. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, with that, we're going to